I'm going to install an Android Auto Apple CarPlay head unit in this Land Rover Discovery 4. I'll take you through what and how I chose a product to do this and the installation process. So this is what I ended up with. As I say, I'm not sponsored by anybody for this installation. I bought this with my own money because I needed one, but it was recommended by AI. I put my VIN number into Gemini and they told me what original equipment the car was fitted with for the stereo and what was compatible. I just thought I'd show you what I entered into Gemini to find out what head unit I have and what additional unit I should use to update it. As you can see, I typed in, how do I find out the make of stereo head unit I have in my 2012 Land Rover Discovery? And then it replies saying that you could have several possibles. And then I asked what sites would interrogate my VIN number and tell me what I have, or can you do it? And then it said it could do it, with some limitations. So I pasted in my VIN number, which I'll just obscure, and said, based on my VIN, it told me what head unit was installed at manufacture, and it was installed with the Bosch Generation 2.1, which is a good one. That's the one you want really, for easy upgrade. You can upgrade the other ones, but it's a bit more complicated. And then it actually offered to look at Android units that would be suitable, and came up with those. They are quite a bit more than I paid, but I'm sure they're very good products, and I think they include installation, certainly useful if you're not going to try and install it yourself. And then I asked Gemini for any AliExpress links, because they are often cheaper, and it suggested these two. CarABC, I suppose that says, and then AutoABC. I went with AutoABC. Right or wrong, we'll see how that goes. So I purchased this. I put up what I paid for it, but I think it was $189, and it's taken about 2.5 weeks to get here. I always seem to buy something large from AliExpress at about the time they have Chinese New Year, and this was no exception. Also they, which I didn't realise, they send you a message just after ordering to confirm the type of head unit you have. And it was probably 4 days before I noticed the message, so it was delayed for that too. So this is the first time I've actually had a look at this. I've got a user manual, okay. And an installation diagram. That seems quite clear. Patch cable. Some Velcro tape. I guess you stick it to the bottom of this and to the part in the car, but I may not use it. This is the actual unit. Interesting. Dip switches. Because my car is a Discovery 4 with sat-nav, all of the switches are set to on, or H for high, as it says there. That will be the aerial for the Bluetooth. And that must, I imagine, be a microphone for communicating with the unit. I don't know. And then some form of data cable. Hopefully that's all I need. Oh, I beg your pardon, we've got this fella too. That looks important. So basically this unit uses the existing screen and puts Android Auto or Apple CarPlay onto the screen, so it needs to put links into the existing cables. Now the screens are old school. They're a bit slow, but we'll see how that goes. I'll be interested to know how quickly it reacts. As it stands, the car's quite slow to react. When you push a button on the screen, I suppose it's only half a second or so before something happens, but it seems like ages. But whether that's the screen's responsive time or the unit that it's attached to, not sure. But we'll find out. We're going to have a go installing the Android Auto Apple CarPlay unit on this 2012 Discovery 4 SE. So we'll take a few things out to do that. So the first thing we have to do is remove the cup holders and the cup holder liner. Below that is what they call a water shedder. That has 2 screws holding in, just take those out. So there it is without the splash tray in. So you've just got to pull it up from the sides here. Open up the centre console to gain access and lever it up. Now if you've got a stick shift like I've got there, then it's going to be in the way. So the only way to move that is to start the car, put it into drive and then stop the car. The car won't like that very much. It will actually stay powered on, which is not brilliant. But it's the only way you can slide it back far enough to get the side panels out. But first we have to remove this little trim panel here below the screen. And under here you'll find 2 screws. They're actually Torx bits. And there's the screws there. And they hold in the clock panel. Let's pull that away. It fights you a little bit. The pry tool is very useful when you're doing this job. Just pry it away. It's just the trim rings coming off. Okay, that gives us access to the 2 side panels. Remove the stop-start button. So a pull. This side panel comes out easier than the other one. It's just a straight pull. This one underneath the steering wheel is made a little harder because it tucks underneath the steering wheel. But it does come out. Sort of jiggle it a little bit, but it is stubborn. There we go. And then we've got a load of screws to take out. About 8 or 10 screws I think, including the 2 underneath the coin tray. So again, a Torx bit. It's the same size as the one you used previously. Careful not to drop them, they can disappear down inside. A magnet is a good thing. I did exactly that. Had to use my magnet. So the clock panel has clips either side. It's best to just lever them back just a tiny bit with your pry tool to get them to come out. They can be quite stiff otherwise. And just poke the tab a little bit with the pry tool. And that has 2 wires on the back. And then you've got the lower stereo panel, and there we have 1 wire holding that. That's off. and then 4 screws for the screen unit. Sometimes it will come out easy, other times it's a fight, but it sort of ducks under. The outer bezel stays on for removal and install. You can see I messed up there, that shouldn't have happened. But it will still come out. And that's finally out. So all of these wires are different, so it isn't possible to plug them into the wrong place. They're either colour coded or they've got different clips on them. There's not a lot of room, I'm going to take them all out. But technically speaking, you only really need to do that blue one and the grey one, if you can get away with it. They can be quite tight. Just try and work it out. There we go. So now for the CD player, I suppose you'd call it. Again, more screws. There's one either side there, and then there's the 2 at the bottom. And it comes out relatively easily. And again, I'm going to take all the wires off, but you don't actually need to take them all. It's basically just that grey one, I think it is, and the blue one. Okay, and that's all of them. And there you have a load of wires. I'm going to leave that one. So installation, just feed your long wire up and you'll find it. It's just obvious what's going to clip into what. It's very difficult to illustrate this and it takes a bit of common sense to actually work it out. But they give you heaps of wire. Far too much wire really, but in contrast to Land Rover who hardly give you any wire at all. So we'll just plug them in. And you'll see on that blue cable you've got a piggyback plug. One end goes into the screen and the other goes into the Android Auto box. Plug the grey cable in, trying to deal with all the spaghetti. They do give you extra yellow plugs, but those and the cut wires are, as I understand it, for additional cameras. This is the dip switch settings. All of ours have to be high or on because it's a Discovery 4 with factory nav. This is a good spot to put the extra control box. Just push it up there. I don't really think you need to use that Velcro that they supplied. I can always go back later and secure it if I have to. They give you a USB cable. There's a hole down there that goes into the lower glove box. That seems to be a good place for it without actually doing any holes. They use that for wired connection to the Android Auto, or you can charge your phone on it. But it is very low wattage, only about 2.5 watts, which will be a slow charge. I think it's actually used for updates as well. There you can see the yellow wires I talked about. They are not used. There's just too much wire that needs to bundle it up and keep it out of the way. Plugging everything in you can see, just make sure you're not missing anything. I'm just assembling it for a first try. I won't connect all the screws, I'll just put the old screw in to hold it in place while we power it on. To do that you're going to need the start-stop switch and the front panels. It's easy to lose a wire behind these things, as I discover. You can't keep a track of them all, but as I said, you can't go wrong. They've all got individual types of plug. Put on the front panels. That's probably enough to start it. Last of all, the start-stop switch. The wires disappeared a bit down in there somewhere. Darn it! I'll just position these things a bit better again. I'll just put a screw in just to secure it temporarily. I'm off to reconnect the battery. You can see the clock winding on there. I'm going to have to reset the clock after this because I've disconnected the battery. I'm just powering the ignition. It's come alive, that's a good sign. It's still connecting to my phone. We hit the nav button. There we go. Now at the first try I discovered it's best to just plug it into the USB cable. Just to make sure it's connecting. That's a USB-C to my phone. It's connecting. It's asking me to confirm by turning my phone on. There we have it. Now I'm puzzling why I'm not getting any sound. What hasn't dawned on me quite yet is that you need to configure the car stereo to be in auxiliary mode. Until you do that, it won't play any sound. Now to do that, you go to Audio Video and then My Music. It gives you the sources and one of them is auxiliary. Go back to Android Auto, pushing the nav button. I'm looking for some sound. There we go. Radio 4, and then that works. And Waze Maps is working. Make sure the vents are clear so you're not going to obstruct anything when you put the side panels in. The last thing to do is to stick the Bluetooth aerial to some flat surface inside. I've got the right hand panel on there. Again, that was a bit of a fight getting it in there. Having finished, to get it to go to Bluetooth, just find it in your settings. It will only do this when you first turn on the ignition, and then it will pop up and you can connect to it, but it only lasts a short time. It never showed that number on the Android screen, so I just picked pair and it did it. And that's connected wirelessly. I don't have an Apple phone to test it with, but I'm sure CarPlay would work okay.
So this is a few days after I installed the unit in the car, and I've been quite pleased with it. I've been playing around and it's been okay. So you can see it's set to auxiliary, which is the input from the Android Auto unit. To get to it, you just press nav, as I said before, and it gives me all of my apps, Audible, etc. Now the responsiveness, you have to hold your finger like that and scroll. It scrolls, but it's not brilliant. But then the technology of the screen here is about 14 years old. So, and knowing Land Rover, it wasn't state of the art when they installed it. But anyway, it works. So if we go to, that's Waze, should I set nav? Right. So it gives you the mile an hour when you're running. The volume, let's go back. And that's wide bay radio. I've actually got the volume turned right down now. So the volume on the steering wheel still works.
In this pre-release report, she said that she couldn't have John at home because I'd just put
But
it
it
through.
echoes. It's because my phone, I'm recording through my phone, which is connected by Bluetooth. It's echoing. So we won't go on with that. And then you've still got most of your other functions if you need them. So it's not disturbed that, which I think is important. Anyway, all good. Apart from the slowness of the screen, great. And for under $200, I paid under $200. It's very good value, I think.